There's this image, and it says Black Americans are at the top, Caribbeans, Afro-Latinos are in the middle, and Africans at the bottom. What is this referring to? Let's go to the caption. So this is from Ashanti Girl. I'm sure a few of you are following her, etc. It says this is a very uncomfortable truth, but there is global hierarchy of blackness. Black Americans at the very top, Caribbeans and Afro-Latinos in the middle, and Africans at the very bottom. Not only are Africans not only are Africans at the bottom globally, they are considered the lowest rung within the black race itself. This is not me trying to cause quote unquote division, but it's a reality that a lot of us are just now beginning to acknowledge. None of us chose this reality. Black people worldwide still go through anti blackness, some worse than others. So back to the image. It says Black Americans at the top. It says in parentheses that Black Americans have a culture that is duplicated, copied, and mimicked worldwide. They also come from the most wealthiest and powerful country on the planet, garnering them some form of respect overseas despite facing anti blackness in the US. The Caribbean Afro Latinos are at the middle. In parentheses, it says, often seen as quote unquote exotic, fun, etc. Their culture is also recognized, but not as much as Black American culture. Then at the bottom are Africans, continental Africans, portrayed as savage, low IQ, dusty, ugly barbarians that no one wants to associate with. Goes through exotification occasionally, but it usually comes from a place of dehumanization. Cultures, languages, and foods are often mocked. Making fun of Africans is normalized. So I'll try to leave the image centered as best as I can on the screen. How can we do it this way? Yeah, let me do it that way. So I thought this was interesting because there is internalized Afrophobia amongst black folks. We talked about it several times during the course of this same episode. By the way, if you're listening and you were in the panel earlier, join the panel again. I'd like to hear your thoughts on this topic. So that's Kofi, Brother Anthony, if you're still available, I can fire and anyone in the chat who's interested in joining the conversation, join us for this discussion. So I'm gonna start with Black Steel on this one. Black Steel, do you think there might be something to this on the screen?
Man. Let me think. Let me think to myself. A global hierarchy of blackness, right? Okay, so who created this hierarchy? I'm wondering who is by who? Who has this hierarchy? Is it Europeans? Is it black people who have this hierarchy? Because I'm gonna be honest with you. As a Pan-Africanist, I see us as one people. We have different languages. Maybe we have different customs or different um, different cultures, but ultimately we are all one people. And I feel like this way of dividing black people puts us at odds with one another. And we got to be real careful, man. I've said this before. You got to be aware of the historical times that you're in right now. The Western world's global hegemony is collapsing, right? Africa can really become one of the you talk about a multipolar world. Africa can become one of those poles, right? But we got to take it for ourselves, right? And these are very subtle ways to keep black people divided against each other. So here's what they're saying. Okay, portrayed as savage, low IQ, dusty barbarians that no one wants to associate with. That could apply to every black person in the world. You think that white people don't see black Americans as dusty, low IQ, and ugly barbarians? You think they don't see black people from? Look at the way the Dominicans talk about the Haitians. You think they don't think this way? You think Caribbean culture isn't copied? These quote unquote stereotypes could apply to any black person in the world. They make fun of food. Hello. They make fun of black people. Oh, you like watermelon fried chicken? They do that already. So what the fuck are they talking about? You know?
Well, Black Seal.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think the way I understood the post, I understood we know white folks ain't shit. We know how they look at all black people. I think this post was more so about this kind of a racial esteem hierarchy amongst black folks, where let's say the African might think that the Caribbean and the Black American looks at them as dusty, which we've heard Tariq Nasheed and the FBA types call Africans dusty and musty and all this kind of stuff. So I think we should discuss it from that standpoint. Do you think that there are black people who have this kind of hierarchy in their mind that Black Americans are the top, Caribbeans are second, and continental Africans are third? And before you go, I'll say this real quick. I think there is something to it because I see Caribbean folks who parrot every talking point of an FBA and an ADOS, even though those folks talk bad about them. But they're like the children of people from, directly from the islands or something like that. And they come on there, they come online and whatnot, and they talk about, yeah, my people told me not to deal with y'all and blah, blah, blah. And even they sometimes parrot the dusty African talking points and stuff. So I think that's where the conversation really resides. Not so much about what white folks think. We already know. But do black folks think this?
Okay. Roger that. Thank you for that clarification, Toku. Yeah, I can understand what you're saying because, like you said, there is a lot of low racial esteem, right? And it's unfortunate that many times many black people have internalized negative views about other black people. So if you're coming from that xenophobic, Afrophobic point of view to where black people are somehow inferior to white people, then yeah, I can understand why they would say that. But I do think overall, though, it just goes to show how ignorant, because any of these stereotypes can be weaponized against a black person at any time. It's crazy that you would think that, oh, they're not talking about me. Why wouldn't they be talking about you? I think that's a crazy statement, though. But yeah, I could definitely understand the point you're making, Koku, about as far as understanding why some black people, especially have low racial esteem. If you feel like, oh, we're better than those black people because whatever stupid reason they might have, right? And who knows? Who knows what reasoning they might have? But yeah, I could definitely understand why that mentality exists within some of the colonized people, because they do hate being black. They hate each other. They hate themselves. And, they want to put, oh, I'm not like those black people. I'm different. I don't eat jollof. I eat, whatever. Red rice. Well, it's something stupid, just some dumb distinction. They'll make this up to make themselves feel better than other black people. Oh, I'm better than these black people over here. I'm better than these, because, and I've heard these type of sentiments. I don't really get too involved in them because, honestly, it's sad. It's sad that type of thinking exists with our people, because we don't have any friends, Mike. I think we said this before. There's nobody coming to save us. We don't have no friends. There's nobody. Oh, black people, we're just, I don't know. It's really sad to me when people have that type of mentality. Like, you really think that that you're a better black person because of where you were born in the diaspora? Like, okay, the slave ship dropped me off here, so that means I'm better off than you guys are. It's just such a stupid um, mentality. But I'm not going to deny and say it doesn't exist, because there are some black people who really do hate being black. There are. There's some who hate being black. They hate their ancestors. They hate. They believe every negative thing about black people. They believe it, but they want to escape the negativity by saying, "Oh, we're American blacks. Our situation is much better than that." Or we're, black people from Latin America, and we were told not to associate with those black people. It's I don't. To me, the whole thing about not associating with us is crazy, because you associate with white people, but who enslaved your ancestors, enslaved our ancestors, but the black people you can't associate with them. Like y'all really don't get it. So yeah, I don't understand the logic, but I see some people who might necessarily believe that. There are some people who believe that type of nonsense. I'll leave it there. Thank you.
No problem, Black Seal. Yeah, if this was a bigger platform that had a mix of black folks, continental, and I'm talking about people outside of being Pan African like we are, because this is a strict Pan African panel. Most of the people here who come through here are Pan African and Black conscious. But if this was a wide group of Black folks, I'm sure the chat would be going crazy right now with folks talking about, they're from the continent, and other folks talking about, well, we from the Caribbean. Like it will go insane. This is a bigger platform, you know. With that said, let's hear from Sister Cheryl if she can hear me. Sister Cheryl, can you hear me?
Yes, can I be heard?
Yes, you can.
Okay. So I'm gonna get around to the question, but just for conversation's sake, I'm just gonna say like what it was like when I was growing up. All right. And I'm not saying that I believe in this. I'm just saying what the narrative that was being pushed like in the 90s and early 2000s. So 90s, early 2000s, you know, um even sometime before that, when people were first coming, when other groups of Black people were first coming over to the United States, it was, I guess it's more now because you have more social media, right? Like back in the 70s, 80s, you didn't really, there wasn't social media to stir up tensions as much. Like they probably did it, but it wasn't as much. But by the time you're getting to the 90s, you're hearing narratives, and this is before YouTube becomes big. You're hearing things like, oh, those Africans and those Caribbeans, they come here and they work hard, and you Black Americans are lazy. Da 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 da. They work hard, they come with $25 in their pocket, and they come to the country and they get houses and they get businesses. So if you can't do that, how and then people are just like, oh well, you see Black Americans in America, because they have no, when people come to America, they don't really have a history of what America is. They're just coming, they're fleeing um war torn countries, and not just black immigrants. There's all types of immigrants. They're fleeing war torn countries, they're fleeing countries that have failing economies, they're fleeing countries that are just decimated by colonialism, right? So when they come to America, they're like, and then they see some people standing on a corner, they're just like, why are you standing on a corner? That's lazy. I'm here and my main objective is to work hard. And I work hard. And if you work hard, hard work pays off. Hard work pays off. Very respectability politics, very like that. That was what it was like with like growing up. That's what it was. And I had family members that would tell me like, well, you need to be working hard. You need to be working hard like these Chinese people, like these Asian people, because what was big back then? What was the propaganda back then? The Asian was the model minority, right? So you got all of these things coming and all of this propaganda and all of this stuff, and it's influencing how our people think about, I just use the Asian thing as an example, but it's influencing how our people think about different groups of Black people. right? And so now the narrative is changing, and they're putting this FBA stuff. The white platforms are putting the FBA stuff on front, right? They're getting the FBA thing when it first started. Nobody really knew what the heck FBA was or what it entailed. No, like it's been out for like 10 years, but just like now in the past couple of years, it's just starting to get some traction because there's the white media has picked it up because they found a way to use FBA against other groups of people. Just another divide and conquer tactic, like what was being discussed earlier. So now you have models like this that say Black American on the top, but in the 90s it was Black Americans. They have low IQs. They're outperformed by all immigrants, like including Black immigrants. It was crazy. It was crazy back in the 90s, stuff like that in the 80s. It was crazy. So now it's flipped. And social media is like, and white people that control these platforms, they're just like, okay, well, we'll just flip the script. We'll put Black Americans at the top, and we'll make them feel like they're above all people. Because all Black people have had all these little stereotypes and all these little things that these little divide and conquer kind of microaggressions that they picked up, and they don't even really know where it came from. Black people are very tribal. We just see other different types of Black people, and we just feel like it's got to be a thing, and that's a colonialism thing. That's like, and that's literally colonialism. Like regardless if you're on a continent or in America, but they flipped it now because like I'm looking at this and this looked crazy because growing up, it was like the opposite. It was like it was the total opposite. And even worse because it was like all immigrants are better, and Black Americans are at the very bottom because they perform poorly on tests and they have low IQs, but they don't really use that now, right? So now they're doing this, and it's I feel like it's just a mess. The only reason there's something to it is because white platforms have decided that it's important. I think was it Tucker Carlson recently? Maybe it was last year, maybe earlier this year. He started acknowledging FBA and he started saying, well, they do have a claim. It does make sense. They have been here for 400 years. So therefore, he didn't never say he agreed with reparations. He just said that it makes sense that they want to delineate. And that really in itself is all Black people need to hear, is some validation from a white platform on YouTube. That I remember when that came, I was like, Tucker Carlson, the only reason he's saying that is because he's so upset with the immigration problem that's happening in America and in Europe, and he's mad because all these Black people are flooding into America and all of this stuff. That's the only reason he's agreeing with that. But to a Black person who's not political, they're just like, oh yeah, FBA, yeah, we have a claim. See, even the white people agree. Like, like it's madness. And this is why when Black people say they're not political, this is why you need to be political. Because white people, this is what I mean with white people. White people are not just going to agree with you for any old reason, just because they think it makes sense. They agree with it because it supports their claim to the fact that they do not want Black immigrants in America. Like that's what that's what that whole thing is about. They don't mind the white immigrants. That some of the Arabs may be able to get past, but they don't want no Black immigrants. So them agreeing with FBA, Black people, because they're not political, they think white people are agreeing because it makes sense. No, white people are agreeing because they if they can say one small group of Black people has more right to the country than other groups of people, then that's better. It's not the best, but it's better for white people because it means now I can galvanize that small but powerful group of Black people, Black Americans, against, and I can put them against the push for TPS, temporary protective status. I can use Black Americans as a springboard to get them out. And that's really what this is about. That's really what this is about. And I'll leave it there.
So real quick, Sister, so do you believe though? Because again, we know what white folks are doing, divide and conquer. But do you believe that deep down a lot of Black folks, particularly in the West, have this hierarchy in their mindset?
I think they're trying to make it a thing. Because aside from, because you'll always have Black Americans that'll say, oh, I don't want to eat that African food, or, oh, them clothes or the hair, da 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 da. You'll always have Black Americans that say that, but they're trying to make an elitism type of thing where it's Black Americans are more elite than this section. And I think they're trying that, but I don't think it's happening, because look, when you go to Black neighborhoods, it's always a mix of Black people. Like if you go to like Black neighborhoods in the South, you'll get Black Americans, you'll get Haitian Americans, you'll get Jamaican, and they'll all have like, is it white collar jobs? So I don't know how well that's going to work. That might work for Black people who are like working class and poor class and stuff like that. But that, I don't know. They trying it. You know how the Black people be like, you tried it. Like they really trying. But I don't like. I see the Tariq Nasheed people. I think that was the purpose of them giving FBA a platform on Tucker Carlson's show. So they're trying to do it, and I think they're getting some people. But if you go out into the Black population, like right now, I don't know. I just talking to people, just randomly just talking to people in different states. I don't know, but they're trying.
Appreciate that, Sister Cheryl. In the chat, I put up a lot of comments Trigger made. So if you're listening on Spotify, it's a video. You could look at the comments that I put up on the screen. If you're listening on playback, please pay attention to the screen as well. But this comment here is what's going to lead to my follow-up once I hear from everyone on the panel. It says that's why it honestly depends. It becomes a localized thing. Will this image make sense on a global scale? So I appreciate that second sentence. That's gonna be my follow-up question. Let me hear from Brother Bakari. Brother Bakari, what say you?
Hell yeah. They're trying to create a hierarchy. Look, man, it doesn't make a difference. I have a buddy that calls he's FBA and ADOS. But anyway, it doesn't make a difference what it is and where it is. According to them, Black Americans created and those other Black people trying to be like them. So hell yeah, they're trying to. I call it white arrogance. I think Trigger Happy put in there some American exceptionalism, but it's the white arrogance. And these Black people feel being in the same vicinity as white people, or being in it, they attempt to use white arrogance. Have it been created? Yes. Thanks in large to social media. Was it always there in a sense? Yeah. Just study why Zopound, the Haitian gang, was created. And you would see it was created because of how, since they are Black Americans and they ain't African American, I separate myself from them because I'm African American. Look and see how Black Americans treated them. They created Zopound to defend themselves, coming into a Black neighborhood trying to live amongst their people. They created a gang to defend themselves from them people. Then look and see how they talk about Africans. Shit, when they did that damn movie Boys in the Hood and they got to fight, I ain't from no Africa. I ain't no African booty scratcher. I'm Crenshaw Mafia. That white arrogance is out loud now because of social media. So yes, they have created that a global hierarchy. They want to create in this country. There's a hierarchy, and the black people from the South is at the bottom. They less than the black people from up north. They're less than the black people from. It's and we can say what white people did, but we can't constantly blame everything on like white people as if we don't have a brain. So regardless of what white people said on TV and how they feel, it's these black people thinking and saying this shit because they think they are better than they talk. Well, when they come here, they don't want to live around us. They don't want to live around us most of the time for several reasons. Now, if you want to talk about white folks, so look at the image white folks have shown black people around the world of black people from the United States. So when people come here, I understand what they have done, and they tell you to stay away. But we have to be grown enough to say, you know what? I have a mind. I can use my that's your strongest muscle. And if you learn to use it, and then when you can use it under pressure, when you can think under pressure, you are damn great. And we under pressure. And you see how a lot of us think, and we allow with the ignorance and the stupidity with the things that come out of our mouth. Anybody who will follow a FBA or AOS or an Aboriginal, Indigenous, or completely let people convince you to get rid of what your ancestors called themselves, African American, to just say, I'm a Black American. And when you just say Black American, trust me, you are accepting the fact you ain't African no more, and you are just this. I call it white arrogance. I've heard more people use the term American exceptionalism. But when you just say you're a Black American, we the only people that have been taught to get rid of our ancestors, to try to be under these people. So yes, Black people participate and have created a global hierarchy in the Black people in the United States because they think they are better than other folks, just like white people from the United States. Even though Ricky Rubio, Marco Rubio, even though they're in America, they're going to always be children of Europe. Yeah, they're going to be children of Europe, but they think they are better. And Black people, the slave is trying to emulate the slave owner. On that, I yield the mic.
Appreciate all of that, Brother Bakari. I appreciate it a lot. Kofi has returned. Kofi, have you been following the conversation?
Yeah, I kind of had to zoom in on this ridiculous FBA tether feather Adolf nonsense. Like this is crazy. A- And when you try, you cannot have a logical, good faith discussion with these people who made this post, because they're saying the problem here. These all of these people are the same people. What is the difference? Is where they are geographically. So why? So the difference is that where we are geographically, it all boils down to proximity to whiteness, right? Like our brother Anthony, he would pretty much call it plantation bragging. So they feel they're better because they're in America, and America being a superpower, they feel that they done something. That they done something great. Like they won the plantation lottery. So by them doing nothing but simply just being born, right? And them again, when these FBAs and people always call you tether, remember it's always projection. They are tethering themselves to white people. They are tethering themselves to white culture. They are tethering themselves to white government. They are tethering themselves to white ideologies and thought and how they see and view the world. I talk to these people, you know, the groups of people who I talk to. This is their justification of why they feel they are better. Not anything that they're done. And all the work that they say that they put in, right? They don't they don't have that same energy. They don't have that same mindset and thought. So they'll talk about Malcolm X. They talk about Francis Wilson. They'll talk about all these people that do not share their ideology. So when they do this whole hierarchy thing, it's all about being proximity close to whites, because the ones that's in the middle and the ones that are in the bottom, if you look at it, it's further away from whiteness. The two at the bottom, they fought. They have a country of their own that they control. Say whatever problems that they have. They have a litany worth of problems, but guess what? They have some form of independence that they are self-governing themselves. It's like I remember the video, a short video. Remember, it was an old video they had in the 80s. It was Farrakhan talking to George Wallace, and he was saying, "Look at Nigeria. Nigeria is the most, I would say, corrupted country in the world." And Farrakhan said, "Oh, shame. Oh, shame. Look at Nigeria." He said, "Nigeria is a nation that just found itself." He said, "But look at America, 200 years in, and you should not be casting more condemnation on a country like that. And you, out of all the things that you did and you still doing, you have not apologized for it." So when I look at this is how I look at it, because I know how these people think. And they have, and another thing, you put their feet to the fire, because you got these big FBA. I mean, they don't touch grass. They're only online. They have all these names, like a guy named Afro-Elite. These Africans this, these Caribbeans that. I'm like, this stupid ass bitch. Afro means African. Afro means African. So how you're an Afro-Elite? He don't even got an Afro, but his name is Afro-Elite, and he does not have an Afro, and he is not African. So if you're not African, how's your name is Afro-Elite? Because it's just so stupid. And when you ask, okay, do you think that black doesn't mean African? And then the conversation would either go to, well, we created black. Y'all never use the word black, which is wrong. Again, we're talking to mental midgets, or they would say something to the effect of it's. Sometimes I feel stupid that I'm being baited into these nonsensical conversations that has nothing to do with facts or history. It's just them feeling that, okay, I have someone to belittle, right? Because when you think about it, and I kind of get it, because if you're in a country and you always feel you're at the bottom, right? And someone is like, hey, look, someone gives you hey, here's a punch bag you could beat up and it won't hit back, because you're not going to beat up on the Hispanics. You're not going to beat up on the Asians, and you're definitely not going to beat up on the whites. So what you going to do? You're going to beat up on black people. You're going to beat up on your own people. Because, we ain't really going to hit back, swing back, and there's not going to be any real consequence of it. So when we look at this graph, you really have to see this is a cry for help. And black Americans, the ones that are, the idiot black Americans, I call them FBA. So obviously. So when I say FBA, I'm talking about the stupid black Americans. So you have the FBAs that have no sense of history, sense of knowledge, no sense of military tactician of how war works, either psychological or physical. Because when you look at this, when you see them, they don't know no other way to fight back. So if you think that the white man is all powerful, white man is all this, you're like, how did that? Maybe if they know it or not, constantly on constantly. Okay, how do I make someone feel bad? How do I take power from somebody socially, economically? How do I do that? Okay, I gotta belittle them. I gotta dehumanize them. And once I do that, then I feel all powerful. And that's what I see what they do. Is pretty much a white supremacist playbook. And they do the same thing. So they gotta do this hierarchy thing. Because like Dr. Claude Anderson says, and a lot of economics says, like, hey, look, black people need to come together, get our money together, to have some industry and have some businesses, right? They like to praise Dr. Claude Anderson. So, but what Dr. Moore answers is kind of coming into fruition as far as like where's the black wealth. So now you have black immigrants, which makes the smallest minority of immigrants in this country, with along with other immigrants, is taking on charge of industries, the STEM programs and IT and technology. So now, oh, we got the tellers, they're this, they're that. It's very similar to what's going on in South Africa. If you were able to sustain your industries and you corner the market on certain industries and and services, why would you care of someone that has next to no skills be a threat to you? I don't think people like again, it's a whole false bravado type of thing, a whole American exceptionalism, false bravado that they have. We're this, we're the best, and we're that. Yeah, but you're upset and you feel threatened by the guy that you say that's an Uber driver, Umbutu, the Uber driver. Why are you spending hours of live of Uber drivers and Uber deliverers? Why? Because you are those people. You do the same thing. You feel threatened by those people. I do not feel threatened by a bunch of people that wants to be janitors, that wants to be nurses. You know what I'm saying? Not even talking about nurse practitioners or head nurses. Just regular average jobs. Why would you feel threatened like that? Because they don't got your shit together. So what they do, you gotta lash out. You always gotta punch down. You don't want to punch up. Because if these FBAs punch up, it's going to come crashing down their head. And that's pretty much it. I'll yield the mic.
Appreciate that, Kofi. Thanks for coming back. I was really curious to hear what you would say about this. Just as a side note, before I let Sister Cheryl go, just as a side note, the lady who posted this, I do believe she's Pan African. And I do believe she's just making an observation, particularly in the West, about black folks. So that's going to lead me to my follow-up question. After Cheryl goes, I will follow up. Cheryl, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can I be heard?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think as a people, like all of us together on this panel, FBA tends to come up a whole lot. Um, I think we need to protect our mental health when we're listening in on, YouTube personalities like Tariq. You got to really protect your mental health on this one, because these people that are responding under his page, they're ahistorical. They don't even know what they want to believe. They don't. These are ahistorical people. Don't let these people uh, elicit a response out of you. These people don't know anything. And okay, so I'm Black American, right? But what I don't want to happen is I don't want people to say, people who are not Black American but are Black, when they say, "Oh, where are you from?" And I say, "Oh, I'm Black American." And then they say, "Oh, but where are you from?" I said, "But like I'm I I have to respond a certain way because this FBA thing has gotten so out of control. Okay, that if I say, my people have been here for 400 years, automatically they think, oh, you're a FBA. See, this is this is the danger of social media and constantly consuming yourself with people like Tariq. Because now when I say that, people are like, oh, she might be FBA. I've gotten that a couple of times, and I'm just like, no, that's just the history. that's just that's just the reality. It's just where that's just how it happened. That's how the cookie crumbled. I don't have any allegiance to no FBA thing, but they're trying to make it. Okay, they're trying to make FBA a thing. And yes, there are African Americans that truly believe that they are American, but it's because they've been in the country for so long. And let me tell you, the majority of African Americans are just like a lot of our people all over the globe. They're very ahistorical. Okay. Um, I think the main thing that we need to be focused on is the fact that everybody, no matter what group you're in, if you're Black, is aspiring. They're white aspiring. Some may be more upfront about it than others. Like, I feel like you have some groups of Black people that will, for instance, they will. Okay, so because I'm married to a Jamaican man, right? Never in my life before have I seen a Jamaican person give so much allegiance to Britain. And it's because I was a historical in that, in the sense that I didn't understand why, right? They're doing that because Jamaica is under the British Commonwealth, right? We have to put things in context when we're talking. We can't just keep reacting off of things, crazy things that people say. If we know people are ahistorical, just leave them in their ahistoricalness. So, same with Nigeria. Nigeria is named after, it's named by a white woman. The whole country of Nigeria, just like many of the other countries in Africa, it, the names that they have are from colonialism. So we have this thing where we like to pick and prod at other groups of people. That's a form of tribalism. That's tribalism right there. When we say, well, these Nigerians, or we say these Caribbeans, or the now we're calling them FBA now, or if we have this thing where we don't like context as a people. And so I think we just need to keep things like that in context when we're, and yeah, people say crazy stuff. I'm not denying that. People say crazy stuff. But protect your mental health. Please just don't, please stay away from people like Tariq. Stay away from people who are my country, my country, my country, but don't know really the history of their own country. We gotta really kind of make it past that, because we don't even, first of all, we don't even know who even made this post. I strongly suspect that it is a non-Black person that made this post. Okay, we don't have verification on that. Um, we can't let this thing stir up, because they trying to make it a thing. And yes, it is similar to South Africa in the sense that it's tribalism, but it's not similar in the sense that there's not no African Americans out here killing non-African American Black people. That's not happening. That's happening in South Africa, because that's a whole nother level. That's a whole different cultural context. It's similar, but it's different. So I think we just gotta like really just ignore those type of people, and I'll keep it there.
Yeah, I'll say that. Me personally, I protect my mental health. I don't follow up with too much of the FBA ADOS shenanigans. At first, I was concerned. I'm still concerned, but I'm not sitting here reading tweet after tweet, going on, watching panel after panel talking about FBA anymore. There's work to do. But the follow up question I have for this prompt is that, again, do you think there might be something to this? And like I said, I think there is something to this. As far as I know, the lady who posted this is a Pan African, by the way. And they're speaking to a certain mindset that's been created. And we know who created the mindset, like Bakari was saying, who perpetrates, who extends the mindset now. And my follow up question is, if continental Africans see themselves this way, as described in the image, or Caribbean and Afro-Latino can see themselves that way, which, by the way, as a Caribbean person, I could tell y'all, a lot of Caribbean folks do see themselves as the exotic, fun type. I'm talking about those without a Black consciousness. But my question is, if continental Africans see themselves this way, is there hope for the continent? Anyone can answer.
I I I don't like dealing with absolutes because people are varies. So there's no group think of how everyone thinks. Everyone's not a monolith, and Africa is not free of. So you see this totem pole of nonsense here. So one of the things I said they have all in common, we all have been colonized, whether we're on the continent or off the continent. My wife just got her hair braided. I went to go pick her up. I think I don't know what country they're from. It's only my second time in. I never really talked to them. So, but they're Muslim, so they're probably most likely they could be West African if they're doing hair braiding. Is my assumption. They're hair braiding everything. You would not know. Obviously, we're all the same people. If you were to put a West African, an East African, a Caribbean, a Black American in the same room, you would not know, right? But while all this was happening, my wife was finishing. See a woman right there in the corner with her job, the whole thing, and she's on her mat praying, praying, praying. That is a form of colonialism. So I don't know. I shouldn't say I don't know. The question I think is better: how many African centered people who is proud Africans unapologetically feel like that? Because you have people that feel like that and they'll have an Arabized mind. You have some other African people who will feel like that and they have a Christianized mind. I've seen documentaries, I've spoken to Africans and things like that, and some of them are really no different than us as far as how we see ourselves, right? Because we think these institutions that were colonized and how we were raised in our upbringing is right and is correct, so we don't question it. I was on a TikTok for the first time in my life, and there was a bunch of black people there, and it was about about the Bible and stuff like that. And these oh yes, brother, we love you. You just need to come to Jesus and all this other stuff. And I'm literally being kicked out because I'm asking challenging questions, right? And those are Black American people. No different when I ask my Senegalese Wolof person who's Muslim when I challenge them. It's not a real difference at all. I don't know if I'm answering your question or not as far as hierarchy or whatever, but Africans are pretty much just like us. But I'll let the panel answer it.
Ask the question again, Coco. Please, sir.
The follow-up question is that if we agree that there are people in the world who have this hierarchy in their head, wherever they fit, because a lot of you spoke of FBA and stuff, but there could be some Caribbean folks who think of themselves in the middle as well. And there could be continental African folks who think of themselves as at the bottom. My question is, if we have a swath of continental Africans who think of themselves as dusty barbarians and this, that, and the other, what does that do to our struggle? How does that not help us, basically?
Oh, when you don't think nothing of yourself, your struggle, you just continue to struggle. You will continue to struggle because you're still looking for someone else to do something for you because you're dusty and barbarian and you need someone. I can't think of that one African dude name that wear the glasses that go around and this whole thing is just the ish on the Africans. But you would need someone else to come and do anything, to do any and everything for you. You will forget who you are. That's to the Black Americans. I'm an African American. That's to the but we forget who we are. You forget the things you have done and what you have accomplished and what you can do because you don't think you're worth a damn. But that's why around the world globally, we stay stagnant. I got to take this call.
Appreciate that, Brother Makai. Anyone else want to respond to that? All right. By the way, shout out to Sister Raw, uh, who's in the chat. Shout out to Provide Triggers for Evolutions, who says greetings. I came a bit late to listening to the conversation as I was engaged earlier. Well, thanks for coming through. Thanks for having us in mind to even come through at the end. Provide Triggers for Evolution asks a question. Would the panel agree that there is a relationship between capitalism and thinking hierarchically? That's a great question. Thank you for that. Provide Triggers. Let's go down the line with that one. Let me start with Sister Cheryl. Sister Cheryl, would you agree that there is a relationship between capitalism and thinking hierarchically among Black folks? All right, I guess Cheryl's not there. Black Steel, what say you?
I think the ideas of hierarchy actually predate capitalism, right? Even before we had capitalism, we had people believing in hierarchies and even how they judge humanity. I think that's something that's innate to us as a species, as hell as primates, really, if you look at it from that perspective. But no, I don't think that it actually probably something that is prior or predates capitalism. And I think that human beings naturally tend toward hierarchies. That's why we've always had kings or chiefs or leaders of some type. But I do think that the capitalist system exacerbates that problem, right? And I think it also puts the profit motive in an aspect of it as well, too.
I like that. Kofi, what say you? Maybe Kofi left as well. Is Cheryl there? Bakari? Anyone else?
I think I'm the last man standing.
Yeah, looks like it. Um, in the chat, Trigger Happy says it always depends on the hierarchy.
This
The
message
hierarchy.
for anyone chasing a dream.
Oh, I gotta pause your mic there. It always depends on the hierarchy. A hierarchy of basic organization and function is no issue, but aggressive hierarchy and dysfunction and unevenness is capitalism thinking. He goes on to say more deeper, that's European thinking, right? And then Provide Triggers thanks Black Steel for his thoughts on that. You know what, Black Steel? Looks like it's just me and you left. So before you leave, I'd like you to give me your shout outs for this week. What would you like to shout out this week, Black Steel?
Shout out to our brother Ibrahim Traore. He found out that some of the people he was sending to Saudi Arabia were supposed to be learning trades, and instead they were learning Sharia law. So he said he didn't want those people back in his country. They could not come back to Burkina Faso. So shout out to him for standing up against Islamic fundamentalism and standing up for African people. So shout out to him.
Now that's interesting. I saw the headline where he was talking about Sharia law will not be practiced in his country. You know, be Muslim if you're Muslim, but Sharia law will not be practiced. We want um, more kind of excellent people. There's a way I put it in my head when I read it. Now I can't think of what I said. But yeah, put the religion in your back pocket, basically. We trying to work and build this country. But you added something to that context that I didn't know. So these were folks who were supposed to be learning engineering, but instead they were learning Sharia law.
Correct.
Wow, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Brother Bakari is back. Brother Bakari, what shout out would you like to give this?
Let me give a shout out to the panel. And of course, you, gracious host. Shout out to the chat. But can I answer the question right quick about hierarchy and capitalism?
Absolutely, yeah.
I think it go hand in hand. Capitalism, I don't think people like to say I think capitalism has always been around, and the people who had the most capital was the ones that was in charge. Capitalism is not new. In the hierarchy, being in charge, just think about it. Let's just go back to our continent. One thing they like to say, if you had the most goats, you understand what I'm saying? You were the most powerful. Or in Mansa Musa case, he was going to be the most powerful, and he was going to be in charge. And it doesn't make a difference what part of the world, what continent that you own. The capital, if you had the most capital, you were at the top. You can go from Asia to Europe, you can from Arabs to the white folks to the Native Americans over here. That's how it been. It goes hand in hand. Does not mean it's right, but shit, it really goes hand in hand. They're together. That's why the Black Americans think they're better than think they're better than African people, because they feel they have the most money. That's a Dr. Claude Anderson talking point. Black American, call yourself a Black American because you're a special people and you're different from other African people. If you listen to the lectures, he said it several times. That's why I always reject that and tell people don't call me that. But that's where they come from. So they think they're better because they think they make more money. We got more money. We got this. Look how great America is. It goes hand in hand, my man. And on that, I yield the mic. And thanks for allowing me to speak. Let me be on your panel.
Oh, no problem. I appreciate you. Sister Cheryl in the chat says Jamaicans abroad think they are better than Jamaicans in Jamaica. And the world turns. Is Kofi there? I'm hearing some noises.
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah. I'm I'm gonna respond with the Cheryl said. That's kind of true. People be from the Caribbean. And there's even a video someone made for my country, and it was like a parody of they went to America, and they came back, and they all acted like they're better than all the rest of the Guyanese people. Saying, "Yes, I've been to America, girl, and yeah, man, I did it." It's like what? It's just a thing. So Brother Macquarie put it perfectly. I would say the same exact thing. Saying capitalism has always been around. The currency of exchange may have differ, but the principle is still the same. Who had more goats? Who had more cows? Who had more wives? Who had a bigger military? Well, you need money to finance and to nurture a military. That's just nature, pretty much, right? There's always a queen bee. Why is the queen a queen bee? Because she's the one that gives life to the colony, right? Because it's a part of nature that we have. So capitalism was always there, and it's kind of what I was speaking about before. FBAs, aka Negro opinions, think that they won. What my brother Anthony McPhee would say, that they won the plantation lottery by just being born, not by putting in any work, not by setting your own table, just by riding the white man's coattails and saying, "Well, look at us, we make more money than you guys." And it's like, okay, and I had this conversation before. Forgive me if I sound harsh. That's like, hey, you're just a bunch of well-paid niggas. Like, okay, even if I go to my humble dirt mound country, at least this dirt mound is mine. No one could take it. I don't have to keep paying taxes on it. No one will a white man's not gonna come here and claim internet domain and forever have it and take it away from me. You know what I'm saying? So when you have these conversations with these people, you like yours. Okay, how it's yours? What system of economic capital that you have that you're fighting for? You know what I'm saying? So you're fighting your brothers on one hand, and you're playing nice with the white man on the other hand. You know what I'm saying? To me, it's a lose-lose situation. So when they talking about capitalism has always always been around. Say what you say about Dr. Anderson. I do agree with that on Brother Bakari because he kind of double talks. But one thing he did say is true that black people need to get our own. So when Dr. Anderson was talking about, hey, in 2015, Black Americans will be an official underclass. There's videos of him on the Breakfast Club saying, hey, look, the only thing that black people produce is sweat. Because we're the best at all the things that involve balls, football, basketball, baseball, all that is sweat. No one wants to buy sweat. So Dr. Claude has his moments of where he's telling the truth and sometimes where he's not. But all of it is about black people getting together and having something of their own. And I think in Black America and everywhere across the globe, we're struggling to keep what we have, or struggling as far as like Black America is concerned, struggling to get what we deserve. So I end it right there.
Before you go, Kofi, what would you like to shout out this week?
I would say basically you, man. I would like to say basically you for putting the show, continuously having the show, having a platform where everyone can convene and come together, and as well as the chat for keeping the conversation going. That's pretty much it, and as well as the panel.
All right, appreciate that. My shout out, Cheryl's shout out is to Kofi. My shout out is to you guys, and my shout out. You know what? My shout out is going to be to Kofi as well. Kofi is now the fourth person who has said we got to meet up. I'm waiting for those numbers to pick up just a bit. More people from the chat, per se, who want to meet up, and then we can start talking about where's the most convenient spot for everyone from the south, from the north, come together and commune. So thanks, Kofi, for that. Thanks for that reminder. Hey, man, we'll be back next week. It'll probably be me hosting, so brace yourself. But until then, man, you guys be good. You guys take care of yourselves. Remain African. I'll see y'all next week. Peace.
Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast with your host, Koku. If you like what you just heard, we hope you pass along our web address, bittermedicineblogs.com, to your friends and colleagues, and share our show to all your social media. Be sure to check out our archive section on our website for previous podcasts. This has been a KWAZ radio production. Join us next time for another session of the Bitter Medicine Podcast. Follow us on Facebook at Bitter Medicine Show, Twitter, Bitter Meds, Tumblr, Bitter Meds, Instagram, Bitter Medicine.